It's you're your sole, your sole supporter. And if you don't believe yourself, you don't have trust in yourself, you're not confident that you can get it done, how will anyone else become confident?
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and we back with a Saturday night sit down. And tonight, I got Realtor and fellow podcaster John Mendez. What's going on, my man? How you doing?
Man, I'm feeling good, doing good, man. Just coming off a very good night, and so I'm glad to be here. Glad for the opportunity, and just grateful to have the opportunity to just have this conversation with you today.
Nah, man, I'm looking forward to it, man. I love talking to new people. I love sitting down and just getting to know people one-on-one. We just recently met now in our speaker school, right? So we just finished another session at speaker school today, and we decided to sit down and get on this podcast. So I actually thank you for asking to come in about my show, and getting to know me. This is how I really like to get to know people, right? And get to understand the type of person that they are. Because like I said, my show is based around that, right? Growing up, as we've seen, especially in our community, right? A lot of the kids, they don't grow up without their dads for one reason or the other, right? And, find these positive male role models and their lack thereof and seeing how they impact these kids growing up is very devastating, So I want to do my part to kind of, actually two things, right? And I'm thinking about is number one is that letting guys know out there when you're being a dad, right? It's a full-time job, man. It's a real commitment, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not something to be taken lightly, So, the importance of when somebody calling you dad, when you become that figure of being there, but also too just helping these kids too who don't have those father figures in their lives to find more positive male role models doing things that in their community that look like them, that coming from them, that they can relate to and seeing them doing great things with their lives to let them know that, hey, I could do it too. So that's why I want to sit down because I know that you're doing great things, right? Very young realtor, right? Going in there doing this podcast thing, doing a lot of fun stuff. So thank you for coming on and sitting with me, man.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to make sure before asking you to come on the show that, my story would resonate with your audience. I know as a podcast host is, we know our audience best and we know what we want our audience to hear and what they need to hear. And I wanted to make sure I had something of value that would fit your audience. And once you said, about your fatherhood, although I'm not a father, I have experience with my father because he wasn't in my life. I was like, okay, maybe that would be a dope story for to hop on this show. So, let me shoot my shot and see what he say.
No, absolutely, man. And here's my thing, right? And what I tell everybody about my show, and people say that, oh, like what I talk about and stuff, man. Everybody has a story. That's the beautiful thing, right? Everybody has a story. Everybody's impacted differently. Everybody's going through different challenges. And, we may connect with somebody completely different, right? A lot of people, some people may watching the show may not resonate me, right? But they see you and it's like, oh, I know him. I relate to him. He's similar to what I'm going through and I got to see, but it was positive. So that's what I want to kind of sit down and get to know you. So as I always break it down, right? Let's get into this, right? Number one question to you, right? When you're looking at the characteristics of a good person or a good man, right? What do you think those are? What do you think the key characteristics of a good person or a good man?
I'd say the key characteristics, honestly, is honor. And it sounds kind of medieval hearing someone bring up honor because nowadays, you think of honor, you think of chivalry, you think of all these old school traits that may be, out of date to some people and to a lot of people, something that they hold very near and dear to their heart. And honor to me is something that I hold very near and dear because we're starting to live in a day and age where a lot of people are dishonorable and not in dishonorable in ways that, a lot of people lie, a lot of people steal, but also they're dishonorable to themselves, to their loved ones, and to the people they care most without ever realizing it. They're dishonorable to their goals. They're dishonorable to their greater purpose in life. And they take a passive role in life. And by letting your potential not be realized, you fail to help the people that you could have helped that you may not even know you had the opportunity to help in the future. So I feel like having that honor, whether it's in, your work to do the best that you do or just to develop yourself to be the best that you can be, or just to be truthful, be honest. Like I feel like honor encompasses a lot of different traits that go into being an honorable person. And if, as a man, we're burdened with a lot of responsibility, whether we like it or not, whether we want to, pick it up or not, it's like, it's there. And it's something that we can't come here and uproot the entire way of living that we're, our natural genetic makeup. And so like, as a man, being a man that's honorable, being a man that people can count on, being a man that sticks to his words, being a man that, just embodies his ideals and stands behind them. Because we live in a day and age too where it's like people are too afraid to go against the grain, even when going against the grain is the right thing to do.
Right.
because they
Right.
care more about the opinion of the crowd than they do about maintaining and upholding their honor.
No, absolutely. You said a lot of key things there, right? It's important to have honor and be honest, and a lot of those things play into that, right? A lot of say that, it's medieval, right? But
Yeah.
there's also the saying that they say, right, chivalry is dead, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to keep bringing that out there, right? And I think those are little things like with my daughter, right? When it comes to honor, right, and chivalry, and we talk about that, right? One of the things that I do with her, number one, is when we're walking in the streets, I tell her, you walk on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is where your lady walks. This is where you're supposed to be, and here's why, and explain it to her. To the point, like even when we're walking now, and she realizes it, she's like, "Oh, I gotta switch sides. Like I know where I need to belong." And that's part of teaching them, right? Like well, these old school ways, right? That's out of respect. Because do you know why that happens? Why it's always why the women should walk on the inside? Like why is that for you?
I feel personally, as a man, your role is the protector, and the
Mm-hmm.
closer you are to the street, the closer you are to danger. I see it, and so as a man, your job is to protect, and by having her on the inside, you're potentially protecting her from getting in the way of potential danger that may come from car. That's what I think it is. I don't know if that's
So
right, but that's what I think it is.
partially, right? There's two things to it, right? Like old school, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that back in the day, people didn't have bathrooms in their houses, right? So they would go in these buckets and all that stuff. So when the buckets gets full, what they would do is go to the window and they would hurl it as far as they could away from their house. Normally that would be on the outside of the street. If you're walking on the street, that would be closest to the street. So the person on the outside. So if the lady is walking on the inside and somebody does that, she's now covered in all this fecal matter or whatever from somebody who just emptied out their bathroom, right? So that's protecting them from that they don't get into that situation, right? The other part to that is that as they gotten older, is that when you have your woman, especially if you're a man walking with a woman and you have her on the outside, close to the street, you are technically a pimp. You're prostituting her out. You're showing off the goods to these cars so they can come by, scoop by, pick her up, get her in, and going. See what I'm saying?
Mm.
So for those two reasons, again, my daughter ain't no prostitute. Number one, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna get her covered in. See what I'm saying? So that's really where it comes from. Like I say, old school ways of why you have your woman walk on the inside. Of course, nowadays, of course, cars and stuff like that. But technically, that's where it originated from those couple of things of where it stands from. So little
You learn
history
something
for
new
you.
every day, right? You learn
You
something
know.
new every day.
Yeah, so I think it is really important, like you said, like honorable and shit, right? And being those and sticking to you who you are and having a good foundation. I think part of that, like you said, right, is knowing who you are and standing by that, right? When it comes to being honorable and those things. Now, along with characteristics and qualities, right? Everybody has morals that they want to abide by, right? Things that they hold near and dear to their heart that they stick to. So for you, what are some of your key morals that you live with on a day-to-day basis?
Honesty, and telling the truth, at least what you believe to be the truth. And I say what you believe to be the truth because there's, if you ask anyone enough questions, you ask them why, you ask them just enough questions, you'll realize that we actually don't know a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many things in life that we actually know. And the things that we do believe are absolute truth, we don't have an explanation for those either. Right? So it's like, as humans, we barely know anything. But there are some things that you can say no matter, what it is, are, at least in attempt to tell the truth. And a lot of people tell white lies, or they tell half truths where they leave stuff out, or some people just are just pathological liars and lie for lying's sake, or whatever the case may be. But I feel like by seeking the truth and by trying to tell the truth and making an attempt to tell the truth in every opportunity, every chance that you get, you live your life in a way that you can look in the mirror every day and you can at least say that you tried to be truthful. Another trait that I think that everyone should live their life by is by having confidence, especially as young men. I think this is gonna relate to a lot of young men. And I'm gonna butcher this a little bit, but if you take the roots of words, so confidence, it comes, I think, from the Latin or Spanish word confianza, right? That means trust.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much confidence is having trust in yourself. So the reason that you're not confident is that you don't trust yourself in that whatever situation. In me, we talk about young men, you try to pull up on a shorty, right? And she look good and you want to run down. You don't have the confidence. You don't trust yourself enough to go talk to her. You don't trust yourself enough in that situation to not fumble the bag, right? So confidence is one of those things that's being attacked right now from a lot of young men. They think that that's toxic masculinity. They think that, you know, they're trying to disarm us, right? And that having that confidence, even if it's just in yourself, even if it's in, you know, confidence that you'll achieve your dreams, right? That's something that's so important to me, because confidence prevents a lot of situations in life. You know, one of my things that my grandpa taught me without really teaching me is, we never had a car growing up. We walked everywhere. And my grandpa was one of those guys that, you know, he has a beer belly. You know, he's past his prime, but he has the confidence. He's Dominican. Oh, typical Dominican man, right? He has the confidence of the top pimp in the world, bro. I don't know what's in him, but he got a different type of confidence to him. And whenever we used to walk when I was little, he always like chin up, you know, chest out. And whenever he would say somebody, he would give like that little head nod that we all do, or, you know, wave his hand. And I used to ask our grandpa, like, you know these people? He's like, nah. That's just what you do. And always walked around just radiating confidence all the time. And then that kind of picked into my life, where it's like, I never had to, you know, get into an altercation. I never had to get into a fight. I never had to show, you know, puff my chest out or do anything that I had to do anything, because I radiated so much confidence that bad vibes would stray away from me. People know who they can pick on. People, there was and not to get too deep, but into, you know, some negative stuff, but there was a study showing that most people that I think it was a study on like children who have like sexual trauma, and it was saying that the predators in most cases know who and who won't speak up, and who's confident in themselves. And by having that confidence in themselves, that can prevent a lot of those traumas. I forget what study that was in, but it was just, it's pretty much saying, like, if you have that confidence, it could save you from that. It could save you from getting into a lot of fights. It can save you from being bullied. It can save you from a lot, because people are less likely to pick on you. And even if they start, you'll have the confidence and the trust in yourself to handle that situation. So I'd say, you know, confidence and honestly slash pursuit of the truth is probably like two of the key morals I think would easily impact every young man's life, or any man's life in their walk, or any person in general in their walks, instantly, that you can apply to your life and, you know, reap the benefit from.
No, absolutely. I think, like you said, you know, starting with with honesty, right? It's there's so much work involved in maintaining a lie. It's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have to remember times and dates, and really relive this fantasy in your head that never actually happened. And it's so much work, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do that. Um, and part of, like you said, people say white lies are kind of boast themselves and gain confidence from each other and other people. You know, when it comes to that, with my mom, taught me this a huge lesson, right? Because my mom, one thing that she always told me was that I'd rather people hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
She always said that to me, right? So she would always, like I said, she never bites her tongue. She's always just says what she says, just like so open and so, because it's too much effort, right? And if you don't like me, then whatever. Like, at least I don't have to worry about this or getting caught out, or, like, you know what I mean? Like, if, let's just say you tell a lie, right, to fit in with a group of people, right? And you're sitting there the whole time, you can't enjoy yourself, because you're thinking, like, when are they gonna out me? When are they gonna catch me? Like, how do I gotta play this off? Like, I really don't do this, you know what I mean? Like, and now it's just so much detrimental, you know what I mean? So it's something so important, just to be honest with yourself, because again, like, at least at the end of the day, like, you know what, at least you said the truth, so you can deal with the consequences. And that's something that I do with my daughter right now and my kids. Like, don't lie to me. Don't ever lie to me. I can't help you when you lie. You know what I'm saying? I can't fix a lie. I can't do anything with that. Like, the truth, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, whatever, I can deal with that, right? We can figure out what needs to get done, but I'd rather do that than have to you work with a lie. You know, and then the other part of your thing, like you said, which is really was an aha moment, man. I never thought about confidence like that in the word, because, like I said, and for me, I've struggled with confidence a lot. Say at point blank being, because I was one of those people that, again, I let the world kind of tell me who I should or shouldn't be for so long, and tried to fit in, and, you know what I mean, like, didn't have that belief and trust in myself, right, to be able to know otherwise. And it wasn't until I think really, like, becoming a husband and a father, where it's like, you know, there's a lot more. It's not just about me, right? Like, I can't let things impact them or whatever. So I need to really kind of figure that and gain that confidence, being okay with who I am and doing that. Because also, how am I going to teach them to be confident if I'm not confident myself, right? And I love how you said that because I've always associated, like you said too, confidence with being cocky, right? Like the moment I started being confident, like started speaking good about myself, I was quickly smacked down by somebody like, "Oh, don't get too full of yourself," or like, "Oh, you gassing your head up," or "Now you're getting all this," and now and then it's like, damn, like so I shouldn't feel good about being good at something, like so, and then that's like for the longest, perfect example for the longest, man. I hated Floyd Mayweather seeing most of it, like, "Oh, this dude is so cocky and he's just so arrogant and just." He's got trust in himself, right? That's confidence, man. Like he's not saying anything wrong. He's not saying bad about anything else or trying to downplay. Like I'm the best at what I'm doing. I'm the great. Like I'm doing. You should be that, right? Because if you don't believe that, how other people gonna believe you?
Mm-hmm. Because let's stay on this topic. Because as you were saying, when you're starting off in any endeavor in life, you're usually the only person that knows about it, and you're usually the only person that's supporting yourself, right? Because when you're starting off, usually starts off as a thought, and who's else is in your head, right? So if you're trying to build something up, whether it's a business, whether it's a podcast, whether it's you get on the honor roll or whatever, it's you're your sole your sole supporter, and if you don't believe yourself, you don't have trust in yourself, you're not confident that you can get it done, how will anyone else become confident? And so it all starts within, and people have this negative connotation with confidence because it comes from insecurity, it comes from lack. I've never been called cocky from someone who's more confident than me. I've never been called cocky from someone who's more successful than me. I've never been called cocky from someone that's doing better than me in life. It's always from people that are coming from places of insecurity, right? And so you have to. Fortunately for me, I was able to tune them out and never, drop my confidence to, the level at which they were vibrating at. Drake always said a line. He said, "You don't worry about fitting in when you custom made, or you don't worry about the glove fitting when you custom made." And so it's like, that's how I just took it. And for me, I always use song quotes to keep me going. I had a song quote for everything. Like I'm not as good now because I don't really listen to music, just because a lot of the lyrics right now I feel like it's a lot of negativity going on. And that's a whole nother subject. But now it's like when I was growing up though, a lot of these song lyrics I could quote a lyric like for any situation off the top of my head. I just had a lyric for everything, and that's what kept me pushing. Because as I said, I didn't really have a role model to look up to. A lot of these quotes like just kept me going in different situations. And with the whole confidence thing and the cockiness thing, I feel like in our community, and like I grew up in the hood. It wasn't the most hood, but still the hood nevertheless, right? And it's like you gassing your head up. No, why are you feeling yourself so much? Like, chill out. And it's like, I can't do good. And then you start tying doing good with negativity, with cockiness, with arrogance. And now you're never going to be successful because for so long, you've been creating this picture. You've been, creating this programming into your subconscious that doing good is bad. Right. Because every time you do good and you try to celebrate it, others are not celebrating you. They're actually knocking you for celebrating what you thought was a worthy accomplishment. So now you get to a point where it's like, I don't want to accomplish anything. I'd rather not accomplish. And that leads to a life of complacency. That leads to a life of being stuck in misery and the whole 9 yards from there for the most part.
I know you said, like you said, with music and quotes, and I'm huge on quotes too. Like I love them. I think they're so powerful. Like one of my favorite ones that really kind of resonated with me as I listened, and I believe it's from Winston Churchill. But he said it was saying like when you're in your 20s, you worry that everybody's talking about you. When in your 40s, you stop worrying what people think, and when you're in your 60s, you realize nobody was talking about you in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm trying to encourage that stuff for me now because as like I tell my daughter too, like in all these things, like people who kind of put you down or whatever, don't let them have space in your head. 'Cause at the end of the day, when you turn around and go home, they're not thinking about you. While you sitting there wallowing and crying about what they said or what they did or whatever, they're all minding their own business, like having a good old time, and you hear miserable for what? Yeah, I mean, like there's no point in that, So I think it's very important, like you said, like, to have that trust in yourself, right, and really try to associate those two, right? Like when you break it down to the word, like it makes a lot more sense, right? It's confidence, like to have trust and really have trust in yourself, and that's where we really need to understand that.
I want to add another quick little point too that I heard from a guy that I listen to all the time. He was pretty much saying like as a young teenager, your goal pretty much for the most part is to learn how to separate yourself from your parents to adapt a role in society, be a contributing member to society. But then once you become a contributing member to society, you have to then learn how to, if society's going left, to be able to break free from that and think independently. So it's like when you're growing up, a lot of your confidence comes from your caregivers, and that could lead to you having, a lot of confidence within yourself, and that could also lead to, attachment issues where, you're very anxious when, you're not in the right situation. You have all these different issues, and until you take some time to reflect, it's very, very hard to start tackling that issue of confidence, because it stems from so many other things that, it might not have even realized impacted your life, because
Right.
it's so early on. And for me, my biggest thing was my junior years, when I started looking into attachment styles, and I started picking up traits. And back to what I was saying, to the whole thing of acting from lack. So one of my traits I would do, I was always quick to cut somebody off, right? And that's because I was just too scared to have skin in the game. It's not because I was a confident dude. I ain't need nobody. That's the bravado, the macho, personality I was giving off. But in all reality, that was just me coming from a place of, I ain't have my parents in my life. So I was, I had to adapt to not having people there. It was a defense mechanism. It was a coping mechanism to deal with my insecurities that I thought were, I'm cool. I don't need nobody. I'm good off everybody. I cut you off if you're not, if we're not in the same vibe, we're not in the same time. And that all just stems from, as I said, the insecurity. So you have to start, self-reflecting, whether it's through attachment styles, or whether it's talking to a therapist, whether it's, just talking to a friend and just laying out, your past life. But all that self-reflection helps you then to develop that confidence, because now you start to know, who are you?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's where it came from me, right? I was lost my job in 2016, right? My daughter was just born, husband, got a family now, supposed to be a provider. I ain't got no job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, college degree, nothing like that. So like, what do I do now? How do I figure this out? Like, all these things, and I'm like, people tell me I should go to school, I should be working in the corporate world, I should be doing like, but I don't, what do I want to do? Like, what is making me happy? And I took a lot of time by myself, right? And I think, as I said all the time, like, to thinking about, like, asking, relearning you, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like I said all the time, like, I tried to adapt so much to so many different situations, is that I'm honestly confused. Do I genuinely like this, or did I convince myself to like this to fit in? And that's a scary thought, right? When you looking in the mirror, and maybe I'll share this, like I said, on another thing on school, but I shared a quote, a poem that I wrote, and it really was about that, like trying to find myself, and just trying to fit in, and then really not being okay with who I was for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm like, all right, I figured out who I am. Like, I'm fat, man, and I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I do. This is what I'm about. This is that person I am. And you don't like me? Cool. Keep it moving. There's a billion other people out there that's gonna find me, right? Like, I think that's the beauty of, like I keep saying, it's like the gift and the curse of social media is that if you're genuinely yourself and you're genuinely who you want to be, and you just go out there, you live your best life, people who are like you will find you.
Mm-hmm.
You just a couple of clicks away. That's it. You know what I'm saying? A key word: positivity. Realtor. You know what I'm saying? Podcast. Boom. And all these people. And you can get to pick and choose and find what feels right for you. Not try to fit into what's around you because you're limited. Like we were before, we were limited to our school, right? Where we go to for school, right? You know what I mean? Like, some kids went to one high school, other kids went to another one. So you would never see that side of those kids ever, unless it's like a homecoming game.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get to see people how they're living in Japan and China and all these things and what they're into, and find my community where I feel like I can be myself and belong. And it's a beautiful thing, but you have to find out who you are, right? Be okay with who you are. Make that statement like, this is me and I'm not going to change, right? And once you do that, you'll find the people who are like you and be around you, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to touch on a couple points from there. I feel like everyone nowadays, especially with social media, is striving to be liked. They want likes. Everyone wants to be liked. They want to be accepted. The problem is, you can never be anyone just by being liked. There's only two ways to become anyone in life. You have to either be loved or be hated. And one of the most polarizing figures, as you know, like, for example, Trump. His main media hated him, but he's a somebody. Right now, on the flip side, Tony Robbins. His main media image is something positive. People love him for the most part. He's a somebody. You never get anywhere in life being in the middle, just coasting across the people that were liked. You might be famous, you might be infamous, regardless of whatever path you decide to take. Just know that with success, with great achievement in life. If you want to be mediocre, you'll be liked by a lot of people, but no one will actually resonate with you. You're not gonna find your tribe, but you'll be liked. You'll be accepted. You'll be welcomed. But it's not gonna be like my brother, my boy. What's going on? What's popping? You gotta be willing to make that decision. Do I actually want to be somebody? And then if you actually do, decide how you're gonna be somebody. Because there's always gonna be somebody that you loves everything that comes out of your mouth, and there's always gonna be someone that's like he's chatting. That guy he's blowing smoke up your what, and just dislike everything that you're about and not support anything you're doing. And so you have to be okay with that, because rather true, genuine support than, people that like you and not really messing with you. And so you have to, as I said, really sit down and think like, is being successful for me? Because it comes with a lot,
Yeah.
right? And we all as humans have a negativity bias, right? They did a study and it was like every like negative thing per unit of negativity is worth, I think, like 5 units of positivity. So you could wake up on time, go to the gym, have a good workout, get a nice breakfast, and I don't know, kiss your wife before you go to work, right? That's 5 good things. But then you get stuck in traffic. Now you back to ground zero. Right. And we all have this negativity bias, and because negativity, has more impact on the way we view things. And so a lot of people just tend to get caught up in the negativity bias. So there's also that issue there. So it's a very complicated issue in terms when it comes to, finding people and being liked or being loved or being hated. And so luckily for me, I was able to find my tribe, and I can genuinely say, like, when you find that tribe, the love is so unmatched. The love is so unreal. Like my birthday, I just turned 21 a couple weeks ago, and the amount of, if you see my Facebook timeline, I ain't never get so many birthdays in my life, bro. I kid you not. I was like spent like 3 hours replying back to birthdays. I made sure I replied to each and every one, because if you're gonna take the time to say happy birthday, I'm gonna take the time to respond back and say thank you, because that means a lot. Because there's days, you ain't have no birthday wishes, but this year I found my tribe. I got cards, I got gifts from like people that I don't really know like that I that didn't grow up with me. And like finding that community of people that genuinely love you, you'll know when you're in that. And when you're in that, it's the best thing ever.
No, it is, right? And you got to go out there and you got to be able to, you got to deal with the no's, right? And find the bad places, right? Because then it's only gonna help you sharpen and to make clear what you really want, right? So you can't take these negative experiences or bad things as just that. Like it's, like I said, like, right, you everything in life is either a blessing or a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's nothing bad. You know what I mean? Like it's either gonna bless you with something great or teach you something that you need to know to be something great. And the other part of that too, like people always looking to be liked and all that stuff. And I was having that feeling too, right? Like wanting to focus on the likes and all those things. And there's another thing that brought up, but it was like, you know what? If you aren't hated, you ain't doing it right. Right? Like, because people gonna be envious you, and that's how you know that. Right? Side topic, right? Going because it's happening, right? So going through a little issue right now with one of my episodes, right? Because some of my theme music or something going on, and I'm trying to hash that out. And my initial reaction, but I guess a lot of people would be like, "Oh man, aren't you gonna be upset? Like, and go through what you gotta go through this copyright stuff or all this nonsense, whatever." And in the back of my head, it's like, I'm not. Like, I'm happy. I'm smart about this, man. That means that somebody thought that I was that important, that they had to do something, right? They see something great in me, and they try. And so I was like, you know what? Let's roll with it, man. Like, I mean, like it is. I'm gonna teach this as a lesson, right? And how to make things different and how to make things better, right? So that's part of like growing with life and learning and find those tribes. And like you said, going through these people and finding out who your do's and your don'ts. Now, you said something earlier that kind of caught my attention, right? I kind of want to circle back to that, but like you said, is like part of you was just cutting people off, right? And you said it because you didn't have your parents right there for you. So let me dig into that. Like, you didn't have your mom or your dad in there. Like, what was it for you? Like growing up, like what was that dynamic for you?
Yeah, so it's pretty complicated issue where it's like, so when I initially grew up, it was like 9 of us in a 2-bedroom, right? It was me, my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, my mom, my other aunt. There was a bunch of us in that house. I don't know how we all fit, but we fit, right? We made it work. I still remember, like, I used to sleep on the couch, And then one of my uncles, they had the spring fold up beds.
Yeah, I
They
had
had
one of those too.
yeah, and so he would sleep on a spring fold up bed next to me, and like you feel me? I didn't even have a bed for a minute, right? That's like all through early elementary school up until fifth
I
grade.
got my own room when I was 13, I think.
I got my room. I forget how old I was, but fifth grade was when I got my own room. And then no, actually I lied because my aunt she had to share the room with me, which till like until she ended up moving out with her boyfriend. But like so I had my own room for a minute. That was annoying. But so my mom. Long story short, when I moved to my new house, that was summer heading into fifth grade year. It was me, my grandparents, my mom, my aunt, and my sister, right? So my dad was absent most of my life. Most years I can count on one hand how many times I've seen him, right? And there's a whole story that I genuinely don't know, and I never got really the chance to uncover, but I'm starting to learn a little bit more about it. Um, but my dad was never really there. Supposedly, my grandparents, my parents, didn't want him to be in my life. Supposedly, he was abusive, and he was an alcoholic. I know he was for a fact he was an alcoholic, but I really don't have much recollection. I feel like there was a one time there I have a memory, and I don't know because with your memory, your brain plays like will make memories out of things that didn't actually happen. But
Fill in
I
the
have,
blanks.
yeah, because trying to fill in the blank. I feel like he did hit my mom one time, but I'm not sure as to if that's really true or not. And so I didn't live with my dad. I never lived with my dad. I might have lived with him for like 2 months, I think, when I was younger, and then moved back home. My mom, she suffered from depression. She has anxiety, and a couple other things. So it's like, although she lived with me and her never had the best relation. Partially growing up, it was because I was angry because she wasn't the mother figure I thought a mom was supposed to be. I didn't understand what she was going through, right? And then it took me a while to realize that she was going through her own demons, fighting her own demons, right? And I ain't know, which is why. And my grandparents, as I'm starting to realize now, they talk down to her a lot. So like, she never had confidence, right? And my grandparents, they ended up raising me, but like, they talk down on her. They talk very like negatively towards her. So it's like her confidence is super low. And so growing up, I was mad at her because she was the mom I wanted to be. And now me and her still constantly fight because she's still trying to be my mom. Whereas my dad, he knows he wasn't a father figure. So me and my dad are actually cool now. We're a lot more cool than me and my mom because my dad knows he didn't play that role. But now he's not trying to come back into my life as a father. He's not like, John, you should do this, you should do that, X, Y, Z. It's like, he has his own business now. I help him out with his business. Sometimes he help me out with mine, and stuff like that. And so like he referred me like a client. She was looking to buy, but she ended up not deciding not to. Um, but yeah, so like me and him, we're on like cool terms now. Where it's like we understand each other as men, like, and we just talk to each other as friends. And then my mom, on the other hand, me and her still be going back and forth because although she moved out like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, so she has her own spot, but she's still trying to play that mother figure. And no matter how many times I explain, it doesn't come across in her head because I'm still her little boy. But it's like in my head, it's like you weren't the mother I wanted to be. My grandparents fulfilled that role. So those are the parental figures in my head. So that's a little bit about, how I grew up and in terms of like my parent situation. My dad was never really there. He's coming back into my life now. My mom was always there physically, but mentally we were always disconnected. And so that and my grandparents, for a certain period of my time, to talk more about the attachment styles. So my sister was the favorite in the house, and in my head, I'm supposed to be the golden boy. I had the good grades. I played football. I was an after school. I never got in trouble. Never fighting. My sister, she was like the
Great hair.
Actually, I didn't even realize I had great hair to high school, right? So that's a story for another day. They used to give me the buzz every time I got a haircut, buzz cut. I ain't never had realized I had good hair until high school, bro. But my sister was the opposite. She was, she got in trouble at school. School wasn't really her thing. She was, at least when she was younger, she did have like an entrepreneurial spirit in her. And so like she was always, I would always get in trouble and she would always fake cry and get me in trouble. My grandparents would always be on their side and they would yell at me and, threaten to call the cops on me and kick me out the house and all that stuff. And it's like, it got to a certain point in time in the middle school. I just felt like honestly, bro, I'm good off of all that. And I just like isolated myself, which led to me developing a lot of avoidant, dismissive attachment styles where I've locked myself in my room. I'll play Xbox. I would go out just to avoid being in the house, because whenever I was in the house, I was always isolated, right? And so that had made me develop into me thinking I only need myself. I don't need nobody. I can cut everybody off. I don't need my grandparents. I don't need anybody. And so, they held it down, in the house, and, gave me a roof over my head, and they never like beat me or nothing crazy like that. But mentally, I always felt alone while I was at least growing up. And it took me a while until uh, my best friend told me about attachment styles my junior year, where then I just dove into self-reflection and started like peeping like, yo, I'm doing a lot of these things because I'm coming from a place of lack,
Right.
and place of insecurity. I didn't want skin in the game because I was scared to be hurt. I was scared for someone to leave me again. I was scared for someone to feel connected and just go ghost and blank me. So that's what I would do to other people before I can get too much skin in the game. And so that's kind of how, like, a little bit about my upbringing and how I came about and how it affected me. But fortunately, someone introduced me into attachment styles, which then helped spark my journey of personal growth emotionally, which is a factor that a lot of men tend to discount or not
Absolutely.
pay attention to at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you have it, and I preach this because, I'm saying this again. One of these days, Mr. Jason Wilson, you're gonna be on my show, and we're gonna be interviewing you. But that man changed my life, right? Because I was reading him, and he wrote a book called "Cry Like a Man." I don't know if you know who Jason Wilson is.
Not too sure.
All right, he's a bald dude, got a beard, black guy. But the video that I seen that always changed my life was that he was doing teaching martial arts to this kid, right? And this little boy starts crying, right? And he sits down, he's like, "Why are you crying?" And then he proceeds to say, "It's okay to cry." Wait, what? Like, hold on, wait, what? What? Hold on, I need to understand this because and as I was going, I was like, wow, like all my life, like because most of the times, like my mom was in, my dad was in the house, right, but he wasn't like there, like the father figure, like that being in there and hands on. I was mostly visual. My mom was doing that, so a lot of very in touch with my feminine side, like I had a lot of female influence, right, growing up. So, and then when I go outside world, all these guys are telling me it's not okay to cry. That I'm seeing this kung fu master dude breaking solid big black dude, like it's okay to cry. I'm like, wait, but it is. And then that book, Cry Like a Man, helped me understand that what we do as men, right? We're not trained to deal with our feelings, right? It's always like you got to cover up, you got to man up. And what we start to do is we bottle this up inside and we place ourselves in what he calls as emotional incarceration, right? And you have all these things bottled up and you don't know how to do these things and you don't really know how to handle your emotions. So you start doing all these toxic things like alcoholism, womanizing, abuse, gambling, overeating, whatever, because you really don't know how to deal with your emotions, right? You don't know what's going on, so it's important for us to dive into that and really start to develop those things and really learn. That's like my mission too, is part of learning that and being okay with my emotions and not allowing other people to control me through that, right? So he has an amazing. You definitely got to look him up to him, man. Jason Wilson, Cry Like a Man. He has another book called Battle Cry, which I got to look into and listen to. Have it, but that's kind of how what we realize as men, right? Like the emotional incarceration and being out there and dealing with our feelings and how to find ourselves. Now, I know, like you said too, like talking about things and learning, because one of my things is like, what do you learn from your parents and what do you learn that? So with your relationship and his absence there, what do you think you learned from that situation, your father not being around, that helped you become the man that you are today?
It kind of made me rely on myself a lot more than I might have had to. It made me kind of have to adopt a role that I probably wouldn't have had if did have a father figure in my life, and which kind of expedited my growth mentally a little bit. Not for reasons that I really wanted, but I think reasons that definitely helped out. Nevertheless, and not having him there, honestly, it gets to a point where it's like just kind of not, you just get like used to it. It's like, especially starting off so young. Although, you know, I never was like really at friend's house, and unless I was playing video games, so I was just stuck I wasn't like looking at their parents, parental
Right.
figures. But like, when you get a part of your life that's just cut out from so early on, you just see life as maybe I wasn't ever supposed to include that part, right? Not realizing until later
It
on.
becomes your norm.
Yeah, that's your norm. It's your new norm. It's just father figure. I don't have one, and so I mean, well, I lied. My grandfather, but my actual father, wasn't present,
Right,
and
right.
so as I said, like I seen my grandparents. I seen like my grandpa that said like he doesn't know, but like a lot of my confidence come from him. That my swagger, my flow, my energy, it come from my grandfather. Like, and so he kind of fulfilled that role in a lot of ways that my dad did. And so fortunately enough for me, I still had a father figure in the house, which as long as that role is being fulfilled for the most part, I think you're straight. It's when the role is completely void where I think that could lead to a lot of issues. And as I said, I always had my grandfather, he's been with my grandma since for a minute now.
Right,
He
right.
has like super traditional views in terms of, they was born in DR. So it's like
Yeah,
my,
absolutely.
the wife is the traditional housewife. Man go out there in the field, he gets after, he gets to the bed and brings it home for the family type of thing. Super traditional values. Um, and so a successful marriage is kind of what I've always seen for the most part. So it's like I still had that father figure. My absence of my dad definitely helped me grow up a little faster, which helped me gain wisdom earlier on in my life, which definitely plays out because in high school I was easily able to say no to a lot of things that most people fall victim to, like drugs, like drinking, like starting like polygamy, all these other things and all these other vices of the world. I was able to stray away, and that's also credit that too to my my foundation, just growing up kind of in church, as well. But all that kind of played up into me growing up a little sooner and being more sure of myself, and also having that that avoidant dismission attachment style where it's like I'm okay with being isolated.
Right,
It made
right.
me good in my shell. I felt good. I was comfortable in my shell. I didn't have to, fit in because, I'm in my own little bubble and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, man, but that's a lonely ass life though.
It is. That's the
And
trade
that's
off. It's back. I love how well, I guess Jason Williamson worded it, but
yeah,
that emotional incarceration, it's a trade off because you'll be protected.
yeah,
You never
that's
experience
true.
heartbreak. You never, get your feelings hurt for the most part, but you never ever truly experience
Well,
at the
yeah,
same time.
I mean, perfect example, right? Like I was a very in relationship and stuff like that. So I was like, always had different girlfriend and that, right? Like, what I mean? I got hurt so much, right? And then I got to this point where I was like, I'm just in it just to be in. Like, I don't care about their feelings. I don't care what they emotions are. Like, I don't really don't care about them at all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it is what I could use them for at this point, because I'm not going to allow myself to be in that predicament again, right? I'm not crying for nobody else anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm not, I'm. It's just not worth it, right? And it was good to a certain extent, but then at the same time, it was just like, again, like what I wanted was real love. Like I want somebody to hold me down every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like that I know that I can count on. I don't have to worry about this, that, or third. Like, and I always kind of we'll bring it back to bring it to my wife. But like one of the things like, and I was thinking about this a while ago, right? Like, before me and my wife got together, I was my ex girlfriend, right? I called home one day, and she's like, I got my friends over. There's like three guys in the house, but she don't know the names or whatever. I'm like, why are there dudes in my crib? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this, I can't understand that. Like, you know what I mean? So that's something that I had to learn, and it was a lesson, right? I had to learn what I did and didn't like, right? So with my wife, when me and my wife got married and stuff, and I set up an appointment for like the cable or whatever, and I was at work, and the cable guy came, and I got home, and I'm like, oh, what happened to the cable? Like, didn't he come? She was like, yeah, he came, but you weren't home, and my brother was home. I'm not gonna let a man in my house when you're not home. And I never told her what happened, but like in the back of my mind, I was like, wait, like that made me feel so like I didn't care that I didn't have the internet. I was like, I was like, oh, I'm about to go on Xbox, I'm about to go on PlayStation, put my boys online. I didn't care about any of that stuff. I was so thrilled to hear that like she did not allow somebody in our, well, even it was an appointment that I set up. It's going like I'm not allowing a man in my house, and that meant everything to me. And I was like, man, I made the right choice with this one. Like, what I mean?
Yeah.
But you got to go through these things, right, to understand that. So it's just kind of seeing that, but and also like speaking, I bring up my wife in that relationship because what you mentioned here, and I don't know if you realize it, but I'm doing this show for some time, right? And a lot of guys who dads weren't in their were in their lives, or what I'm saying, they weren't there. They always talk about successful marriages, and I kind of find that because ideally, what's one, even if that's your norm, right? Like you grow up, and your dad was never in your life or ever in your pictures of that, and I've seen that, but we still look at successful marriages and be like, man, I want that. Whether you did or you didn't have it, that's what we aspire. And I think that's so incredible that we still kind of see that and people don't play that. And even for a man, right? Like you're a man, like people's like, oh, guys only talk about like sex and stuff and this. No, right? I was saying this to somebody else and probably last week, but there's a saying, right? They always talk about guys going out and like, you know, having sex and all these things, right? And they bring it down to guys and women, right? And they say that girls, they have sex with who they want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me not push this, right? It goes like this. It goes, boys have sex, you know, with who they can, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they go out there, we try to, whatever girl will allow us, like, that's what we have sex. It's not a matter of we get to pick or choose or whatever. Women get to choose who they have sex with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vice versa is that men choose who they want to marry and women marry who they can.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like in the back of the mind, like women like may have to sit there and like deep down, I don't care what any man says, like you want somebody to love you and hold you down when you come home every single night. You don't have to go out there and deal with the nonsense and all the BS of being the heartbreaks and out for your money and stuff. You get yourself a real reliable woman to come home. That's all you want. You just want your peace. You know, and that's how you gotta go out there and finally see. But that's what we really want at the end of the day. So I find it kind of crazy, and I see that as a pattern. That no, regardless of the situation, is that us guys we still look out for successful marriages, and it's like, man, like that's what I like. You know, so I find that kind of cool.
And it's funny, like, we're on the topic of relationships. So, like, for me and my relationship life, like, part of the reason is because of my avoidant dismissive tendencies that I had earlier on in my life. The other part is I growing up in the church, I was like, I always knew that, you know, messing around with shorties, if you know what I'm talking about, like, that was always something that I found like you giving up a part of yourself. I've seen it as that, and like as a dude, for me, as it's the norm, especially when you're in high school. It's like, especially if you're in college, if you're away in college, it's like it's just how many shorties can you smash, right? That's what everyone wants to know. I pull more shorties in. I pull more females than you. Like I'm getting more. That's like they're always the go-to. If you ever get in like an argument in high school, it's either I get more money than you or I get more girls than you. That's the two top comebacks that everyone try to give you, right? And it's like for me, before the girl that I'm with now, like my longest relationship was probably like a month, because like I was just so quick to, I never had skin in the game. So as soon as I see one thing, I'm out. I'm out. I talked to a couple girls, but I'm out. But it's also part of it too, because there's a couple females I could have had a genuine connection with. I had something pop up, but I knew, like, and the people don't take this in consideration. Every sexual partner you have, you have sex with, it's like your spirits connect. But not only that, but you're connected to then everyone else there you had sex with. And so if you live this, this life, this playboy lifestyle, it's gonna be so much harder for you to find love in the end, because you're connected to so many people through all the people that you had sex with. And every time you have sex, you give up a part of yourself, and you're trying to fill this irreplaceable void now that you'll never be able to fill, because you just gave so much of yourself up. And people don't realize that, and they have all these different partners and just constantly giving themselves and constantly getting intertwined until you're in this giant web of, just a spiritual mess. And so a lot of people don't take that into consideration, because they leave like this kind of like the hedonistic lifestyle where they're just seeking self-pleasure. That's it, nothing more. Just in it for a quick nut, and that's it. And people don't have the wisdom and then hopefully the proper role model to help them realize, like, yeah, I could probably do some things with this girl, but like long term, it's not good for me. And especially like for me, like growing up, like, I was on a football team. I would call myself, I don't want to boost my head up too much, but I call myself
Gas yourself, boy.
what we talked about earlier, a very young, handsome man with a good head on his shoulders. And, know how to talk to people. I'm funny. I play sports. I'm like good grades. Like the resume is fulfilled, like to live the instant playboy status lifestyle in high school and especially in college. Because once I always could dance too, which is another thing. Once I got to college, I unlocked the waistline. It was over. You feel me? So I had the opportunities to really pop off, but it's like I always knew that was something I held sacred. I was refused to give myself up to just anybody because of how much love I have for myself, and I was just like, I'm not with it. Then the amount of people, like for me to think that you were worth giving a part of myself up to, that took a lot. And so like not too many people ever made the cut for even that to pop off. So although I could have, had that playboy lifestyle, I never desired, I never seeked it because that was something I didn't hold as valuable to, my growth as a man. I just knew it would end up, stabbing me in the back or making my life so much, harder in the long run. So I decided to like, hey, I'll just keep waiting. And now the girl I'm with now, it's like I'm with her what a year and 7 months now. So like the first girl I actually took like real serious, been together for a minute, and just like just wait, it'll come when you're not looking for it type of thing. And a lot of these young men just like, especially by their boys, are just being peer pressured and like pushed into whether it couldn't doesn't even have to be females. It could be drugs too. A lot of people smoking. A lot of start drinking earlier than they want to try to fit in and stuff like that. And it just all goes to you got to realize that there's consequences with everything that you do, and you get caught up in these these worldly ideals and these worldly values and these worldly activities, and it does nothing but slowly deteriorate your psyche, your spirit, your physical health, your mental health, etc., etc.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely like, yeah, like you said. I mean, it's not the lifestyle, right? Like you go through there, and it is at the end of the day, it's empty, man. It's cold. Like there's, there, and I'm probably gonna mess up when I say this, man, but like there's something saying, right? Like you said, you can go out there and run up a body count, right? You know what I'm saying? And go home, lay in your bed, and still be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Got nothing to look forward to. You got no one to like it's and again, like bring it back to my life. Like it's a beautiful thing. Like right now, like I said, like going through something hard with my kids, right? I'm struggling, and like I passed out on the couch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this morning I wake up, later I sleep in, but my wife already woke up. She got the kids ready. You know what I'm saying? She called my sister and text her like, hey, I know you're coming to pick up the girls. Don't text him because he's still sleeping. Just reach out to me. Let me know so I can get him, because she wanted me to sleep and get my rest. Like that's the type of peace you need to have, you know what I'm saying? Like in your mind, like that you could relax and not worry about like that's what we all kind of seek for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you need to it's to establish. And that goes back to like seeing those relationships and those things that we advise to. Because that's the same thing too. Like my parents, you know what? They didn't have the best marriage. You know what I'm saying? They fought, they went at it,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, what they always say, that one of the things that couples old school, when they say like, how do you manage to stay together so long, is we come from an era where something broke, we try to fix it and not just throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
My girlfriend said something dumb wavy the other day, bro. She was like, when you trying to look for a partner, don't look for someone that you can have fun with. Look for someone that you could struggle with, because there gonna be a lot of ups and downs. When you think of a partner, you think about all the good times, the honeymoon, the dates, the vacations, and everything. The vacation. That's what everyone thinks about. But life gonna hit you. It might hit you personally, but that personal hit gonna trickle into your relationship and all your other areas of life, right? She might get something in her personal life, and that might trickle off into the relationship, or y'all might get into a fight in the relationship while you both have stuff going on in your personal lives. And right, so it's like, oh, you can get into a giant mess, and if it's like, if that's not someone you're willing to struggle with, yeah, not that's someone you're not willing to suffer with, and go through hell and come out of it. She's not the one, bro.
She's not. I'm gonna go through two. Like I was rewinding that, right? Because I want to share two things with you, right? Um, One of them, I guess. So I could grab my thought now, but um, I always said, right, with my wife, when we started dating, right, and when things got serious, and I told her straight up, I said, listen, the moment you don't want to be with me, just tell me, because I'm not gonna fight for somebody who don't want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Ain't no point. You know what I'm saying? Like, so whenever my mentality, like I'm in this, is like, yo, like I'm not thinking about an escape. Like, how do we fix the problem? That's my mentality. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about running away or this, that. Or how do we fix this problem? What do we do? Like, we'll argue about it, maybe at odds, but like, how do we fix this? Because if I want you to be here, so whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
we got to figure it out or whatever. Because it's a choice that we make, right? Like to be with each other. So when you stop making that choice, let me know, because I'm not gonna fight for it anymore. Like, there's no point.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Um, so that's where it comes to that. Like, and I think the other part, like I said to everybody, like, and I think key thing to every relationship, and I've always said this, has its good times and its bad times, right? It's the good times that make it last, but it's the bad times that make it strong. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So you got to be able to fight through both of those things if you really want a good relationship. Because like I told my wife, it's so funny. Like I tell her all the time, like, I'm looking around, right, and all those things. Like, for me to cheat on you, right, the only thing at this point another woman that could offer me is sex,
Mm-hmm.
which anybody could do that, right? But what I want is trust and loyalty,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've been giving me trust and loyalty for going on like 11, 12 years now.
Yeah.
Who's coming close to that? Who can come into my life right now and give me instantly? That's impossible. Like, you got nothing to offer me. You got nothing to offer me. Because me and my wife, we went through the highs and the lows. We went through all these dark times. We've been through some shit that we sit through each other and we're like, damn, like we figured this out together.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to have it any other way. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no time for me to go with that. So it's important, like you said, your girl said that she got a good head on her shoulders to know that, because you don't, like, who was it? I think it was like Denzel, somebody else that said that there, but it said it's like her beauty is not gonna raise your children. Her mentality will.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what you want to see, somebody who's going to help you and push you to grow and stuff. A lot of times I get mad at my wife because she wants me to be better for myself. Like, one of the times when we started dating, one of the things that I struggled so much and I got so mad at her is because she forced me to tell people no, because I was such a people pleaser. But she was like, and get mad at me when I would go do favors. Like, somebody called me and be like, oh, I'm about to go help you. Gonna leave to go? Really? In the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, she's just being so cool and roll. No, she's teaching me to protect my peace. Right? Mm-hmm. She's teaching me to grow. Like, you got to understand where your limit is, because at the same time, I'm burning myself out because I'm always running over here, doing this. When do I have time for me? Yeah. Right? Like, she helped me that. And that's what you need, somebody in a relationship. So, I'm happy that you found her and that you guys are working on the year and 7 months. So congratulations. So good job, or you teaching them well. So as we wind it down here, man, I got 2 last questions for you as we wrap it up, man. So number one, right, with everything that you've gone through and everything that you've learned in your life so far, what do you think has been the best advice that you've received so far?
We will always come back to what we believe we are subconsciously. Right? It all starts up here. Everything. No matter what you want to do in life, it starts up there. And you have to realize that only 2 to 5% of what we do every day is conscious. And once you realize that, you'll realize the importance of self-reflecting or meditation or whatever practice you use to clear your mind is, because until you start fight that drunken monkey, as they say, that's back there, your ego, whatever you want to call it, that's holding you back in your comfort zone, and tearing you back down and just bring you back to places that you don't really want to really live in. Until you can fight that and change that and reprogram what you're running on, you'll never change. You'll never be anything in life. You'll keep on finding yourself back in situation. There's a saying, like, God will send you the same lessons over and over again, just with different people, until you learn the lesson that he's trying to tell you, which happens a lot in relationship. Why you think people that get abused keep on getting into more abusive relationship? You didn't learn. And it gets to a point where it's like, you almost pity them in a way. And I don't want to like say I pity them as if I'm over them, but it's like, listen, learn, look, what is this situation? Back to you were saying earlier, you only win or it's a lesson. It's no losses, right? It's a W or a lesson. L's don't stand for losses. It stands for lessons. What can you learn from this situation? Where you can grow from this situation, right? So it's like, you got to change what you're running on. Everyone talks about the law of attraction. You got to understand where that comes from. The law of attraction comes from the law of vibration. What is your frequency that you're on? Are you thinking positively? Are you thinking highly? I don't listen to Jersey Club music now. Why? Because Jersey Club music is nothing but lip beats and no lyrics at all. There's no lyrics in none of them songs. I'm not trying to feed my song, even if it's, well, Drake's last album wasn't all that, but I ain't gonna. That's a whole another topic. But like, a lot of these songs, as I said, they be talking about a lot of BS. It sound catchy, it's a good beat, but it's like, for me, a lot of those words, without realizing, it's playing into it's going straight into your subconscious without you realizing. So you really got to take the time to reflect, to change your mindset, change your identity. Because if you try to become the world's best real estate agent, but you don't identify mentally as a real estate agent and you identify as a podcast host, you might get a little distracted and you might spend your time doing more podcast stuff than you are doing, and wondering why your real estate agent business isn't growing. And I say that from experience because that's what I'm doing right now. My podcast is booming, and my real estate stuff isn't taking off the way I planned for it to take off. But you have to take a time to reflect, like, who am I? Who do I identify as? Is this the person that I want to identify as? And if it's not, how can I change that identity so that I can become the person that I need to become to achieve the things I want to achieve in life?
And there's a couple things that you said, like the mainly why, like I said in that moment when you said the brain thing, because I yesterday, just yesterday with my daughter, right? We were walking over to drop my son off at his daycare, and she trips and she falls. She scrapes her knee. She's like, "Oh, throw this whole fit and stuff like that." Oh my God! It's like, "Oh, there's so much blood." There's like a couple of droplets of, like, you know what I mean? Like, just making this whole big thing out of it, right? And I looked at her and I said, "Baby, I'm gonna tell you a secret right now. Do you know that everybody has a superpower?" She's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, everybody has a superpower." I was like, "You ready?" She's like, "What is it?" I was like, "It's right here. It's right here. Anything that you want, that you need, it's right here." You know what I mean? So if you're looking at that cup and you're saying it's the biggest cut in the world, gonna be like, your body's gonna be like, "Oh, well, we gotta make it the biggest cut in the world because that's what she thinks it is." So your body's gonna react that way. If you don't pay it no mind, don't think about it, like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I even shared a story. I said, "Look, I got a scar on my pinky, baby. I went ice skating and I fell and somebody ran over my hand, right?" And I said, "You know what I did?" She said, "Well," I was like, "I got up and kept skating for like a good 3-4 laps while people are chasing me, screaming at me, like, and that's like what happened. My hand's covered in blood." But I didn't. Why? Because I didn't think about it. I didn't look at it. Like, I wasn't thinking that I had to cut my hand. I'm sitting here ice skating, having the time of my life.
Yeah.
But your brain is your superpower. Whatever you think, your brain is gonna do everything in its power to prove you right. So that's what it is. Like, if you say, like, "Oh, I'm the stupidest person in the world," your brain's gonna make you do everything to make you right. You're gonna misspell that word. You're gonna talk out of turn. You're gonna stumble on something because your brain is, "Hey, this is what it is, and that's what I got to do for you," right? This, whatever you put in me is what I'm going to give you, right? Like, you're trying to say that with the input and the output, you know. And I think the other part, like you said that too, is that the key thing is that people running on autopilot, right? Like, how are you supposed to take control of your life if you're running on autopilot? Like, if you got no control over the wheels, the bells, the whistles, what's going on, like, how are you supposed to get to where you want to go? You can't. You know what I'm saying? So, great thing on that. So last thing and last question I got for you then, like, looking at everything that you're going through and things that you're experiencing and stuff in life, looking at the younger generation or kids that may be in your situation, right, coming up, or that live the same life or been through what you've been through, what is one piece of advice you want to offer them?
Don't adopt that victim mentality BS that they're trying to feed us, and cut it out. Don't listen to it. We have, back to what you were saying about the superpower. We have everything we need. We have every opportunity. We are living in the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. We are living in the greatest information, the easiest accessibility to information ever. Don't ever believe, and there's like things, and it'll be controversial beliefs in our community, but I don't would consider myself a minority. I don't care. A minority is a negative term. I don't consider myself a person of color. I don't identify. There's a saying like, wise people divide themselves amongst the wise and the fools. Fools divide themselves amongst political party, race, gender, religion, etc., sex, etc., right? And it's like they trying to feed us all this BS, and it's like, bro, we're power. There's a saying, it's like, we're not scared that we of it's like we're not scared of who we are or something like that. We're scared that we're more capable than beyond imagination or something like that. I forget how it goes, but it's like we have everything we
We're
need.
not afraid of what we are, afraid of what we can be.
Exactly. And so it's like we have everything. You just have to know that there's opportunity everywhere, and the only thing that's hiding those opportunities from you is knowledge. So if you seek that knowledge, you'll find more opportunities because you'll know what to do with certain things. For example, let's say you see a house that's ugly. You might think, "Oh, that's just an ugly house." A real estate investor gonna think, "I could flip that, make like 100K, easy, boom," because they know how to process. They have the knowledge, so they see an opportunity where most people won't, and that's in everything in life, right? So don't adopt that victim mentality BS, because you will stay trapped. You will stay poor. Don't think that money is evil, right? And having, just enough money to survive is the most selfish thing that you could ever do in life, because you're going to come into a time where your loved ones are going to need you, or your friends are going to need you, or your family member going to need you. And if you only have enough money to cover your butt, all your peoples are going to be in less fortunate position, right? So money is good for the good that money can do, and the more you adopt that victim mentality, the more you'll never find any success in any area of your life. So hold yourself accountable, even if it's something may not be your fault. Just take accountability for everything, because the moment you give up that accountability to someone else, the moment you say you point the finger, you say it's someone else's fault, you just lost every bit of power that your mind has to change it. Because now you'll be forever waiting for that person to change. Whereas if you took responsibility for it, you took accountability for it, even if it wasn't your fault, now that it's your fault, even though it's not, you have the power to change it because now it's up to you.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Like you say, you because we were talking about it before, right? You adopt that victim mentality, then your brain will tell you you are the victim, and you will become the victim, and you will stay just that, right? You won't go anywhere. You won't do anything. So we can't do that, right? We just gotta continue to believe in ourselves and push forward and do that because again, nobody's gonna want what you want more than you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one of the things that I always told myself and that I kind of like get into the mentality is that if you don't like something, change it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. Like, I mean, people make it way too complicated. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't like something, change it. You don't like how you look, go to the gym. You don't like what's going over there, then go change your hair. You don't like that this is in the wrong place, then go put it where it belongs. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't wait. And the whole concept of that is don't wait on other people to give you your happiness. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like, you don't like it, then just change it, right? Like, that's all you got to do is that simple. Like, don't point fingers, don't blame anybody else. We all have to take responsibility for ourselves, man, and really know that, right? Because nobody's gonna do what we want for ourselves but us. Like I tell
Mm-hmm.
people all the time, and one of my biggest things, because when I'm a supervisor and I coach people, like I tell my reps all the time, like I can give you all the tools. I will give a man a shovel and he'll never dig a hole. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna do it for you. You know, nobody's gonna do that opportunity for your life. So if you really want something, go out there, take it, and you know, and really live life to the fullest. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate you sitting down and talking to me. I mean, like a lot of great insights from you. So thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you some more, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
You know it, man. Well, as we do it here, man, another episode of Saturday Night Sit Down. Thank you, John, for joining us tonight. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, tuning in. As you always know, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, your big brother loves you. Stay blessed, everybody. See y'all.